After 4 years, the sequel to Shazam has arrived in theatres, Shazam: Fury of the Gods, again directed by David Sandberg, and with all the original cast members returning. The film, like many others, had delays due to COVID and was supposed to be released last year and was rescheduled by Warner Brothers, but they didn't want it to go head to head with Avatar 2, so it was pushed back till March of this year. The first Shazam did do very well critically and did fair numbers at the box office to warrant a sequel. Fury of the Gods has been given a slightly larger budget of just over $125 million, and unlike the first film, it's already been given mixed reviews before its general release, with some complaining it seemed unfocused and less satisfying than its predecessor. Others said the plotting seemed tiresome, but it was bigger and weirder than the first film, and you can't help but root for the characters. Total Film in particular gave it 2 stars out of 5, saying disappointing despite worthy cast additions, the sweetness of the original is lost in clouds of CGI and perplexing plotting. With James Gunn being brought on board to soft reboot the DC movie universe, for Zachary Levi to continue as the character, this needs to perform well, but from its weekend opening it's not looking good. But still, I don't know if Shazam and his universe will continue when the upcoming Flash movie resets everything, so who knows at this point. So for the film's story, it opens in Athens and 2 of the daughters of the Titan Atlas, Hesperia and Calypso, break into the Acropolis Museum to steal the wizard's broken staff, which Shazam broke in half in the first film and did a poor job of hiding it. They managed to repair it, activating its powers. Billy Batson with his foster siblings are having fun with their superpowers, but have been causing too much damage, upsetting the residents of Philadelphia. They save a group of people on a collapsing bridge, but are called out for the destruction. Outside of their superhero antics, Billy is worried about being kicked out of the family, as he's approaching the age of 18, resulting in him being out of the foster system. In a dream as Shazam, Billy is warned by the wizard about the daughters of Atlas. Freddy meets a new girl at school named Anne, and develops a friendship, and then he decides to show off his superhero self. Unfortunately, Hesperia and Calypso arrive with the staff, stealing Freddy's powers. Anne is revealed to be their youngest sister, Anthea. Billy is kidnapped and is imprisoned along with the wizard in their afterlife kingdom. And then the daughters create a dome around the city of Philadelphia, trapping the city's residents. Billy is struggling with his powers and doesn't believe he can stop them. I never reviewed the first Shazam movie on my channel. It was one of those weeks where I missed that window to cover it. But I thought the film was very good, a nice balance of humour and action, a brilliant score and some scary moments for a film that was rated a 12A. So going into this sequel, I was looking forward to seeing them continue the story. The trailers, however, left a lot to be desired, so I wasn't super excited. But after watching the sequel, I did enjoy it, but it does have more issues with it than the first one. The problem with the mindset of sequels is make it bigger, throw more money at it and increase the amount of action, especially with the superhero genre. On paper this sounds great, and for the fans this should please them, resulting in a bigger box office. But in reality often results in huge amounts of CGI and lengthy sequences that bog down the runtime and make it feel a bit tiring to watch, and this is the problem with Fury of the Gods. It's not to say the action is poorly executed or unexciting. The director puts a lot of creativity behind the camera to showcase some great moments, but you get a great impression that they have run out of story and are just extending the film with non-stop action. The film carries over the humour of the first one, and there are some good laugh-out-loud moments, but also has some jokes that fall flat, and Shazam and his stupidity does wear a bit thin in places. Zachary Levi again does a brilliant job. He really captures the teenager-like attitude, but the script does trip up now and again. What really made me roll my eyes a few times was the forced emotional angle with the family and his foster parents. It's just an added layer of cheese over the top. It comes across as very cliched. It's moments you've seen before in dozens of other films, and it's just very generic. I'm not very familiar with the comics, and as a kid I knew him as Captain Marvel, so I don't really know his lineup of villains, but Helen Mirren and Lucy Liu both do a great job with their roles. I'm always happy in particular to see Helen Mirren, such a brilliant actor, and seems to be popping up in a lot of these big movies. Their backstory is developed enough to get you to understand their reasons for going after Shazam and his family, and wanting revenge down to the wizard's actions from the past. The movie again focuses on Billy's friend Freddy, played by Jack Dylan Grazer, who like Shazam is integral to the plot, and he befriends and falls in love with a new girl at school, who is not who she seems, and again their relationship is so forced and cheesy and very contrived. But to give the film credit, Jack is brilliant, and possibly one of the standout roles. He spends less time in his superhero form and has to deal with a lot while being human, and is put in the most difficult situations. I loved the original score to Shazam by Benjamin Wallfish. It's one of my favourite superhero scores in recent years. The style of music was very John Williams with a mix of Jerry Goldsmith and even James Horner. It felt so 1980s with its classical approach. So when I heard he was being replaced due to being unavailable as he was working on the new Flash film, I was a bit gutted. The new composer Christoph Beck unfortunately ditches what Benjamin did for the most part. The new theme is very forgettable, but to his credit he does deliver some great music throughout the film. So I was pleasantly surprised by how good the rest of the music was. Great cues for the action scenes and for the villains. It just annoys me though when they create a great main theme for the character and a new composer comes on board and just replaces it. If it ain't broken, don't fix it. Marvel have had this issue for years. Come on people, continuity. The biggest issue with Fury of the Gods for me was that it's too long for its story. The action scenes are dragged out and they also end up with too many characters to juggle, especially when you have the majority of the foster kids being superheroes, though they do lose their powers for most of the film, so it shifts focus to Billy, and then they get their parents involved, plus you have the ongoing relationship between Adam and his girlfriend Anthea. Even though the budgets of both Shazams are kind of the same, the sequel I believe has an extra $20 million thrown at it for the big visual effects. The first one felt more like an indie film. When you go back and watch Billy and Freddy just goofing around testing out their powers, at the time you got a sense that it wasn't following the trend of the other big superhero flicks. Come the follow-up, it feels very much like a traditional big budget sequel, which isn't always a bad thing, but I think some of the uniqueness of the first one has been lost in this bloated follow-up. I would certainly watch the film again. It was an enjoyable experience for the most part, but it just needed tidying up with its length. They could have easily trimmed 15 minutes out of this, and dialing back the cheesy emotional side of it would have helped it be less cringy for me. I want Levy to continue playing Shazam, but with the whole DC movie shake-up, I don't think he will return, which will be a shame. So it's not a terrible sequel by any means. There is more good than bad, but it doesn't live up to its predecessor. Throwing more money at it, CGI and action, doesn't always warrant a better film. Keeping things less over the top would have benefited this sequel. If you enjoyed the video, don't forget to hit the like button and click the bell to be notified of my latest retrospectives and reviews. Big thanks to my patrons for supporting the channel. If you want to get involved and gain early access to my content and exclusive videos, then follow the link below.